Hello there, my name is Jasom Jensai, and welcome to this stream where we're going to be discussing Rogue One, reviewing that entire movie. We're also going to be discussing the best ways to hunt a Rancor, which I'm going to be honest, I haven't had time to prepare for that one yet, so it'll be on the fly. So I hope you can leave your comments and try and help me figure out what's the best way to hunt a Rancor in Star Wars. Number 3, we're going to be discussing the top 10 scariest animals in Star Wars. But before we get to all of that, first, the question of the stream. So, what type of crystal is used to power the Death Star? So, there's this very specific crystal that was very important in developing the technology to make the Death Star. And if you know what that is, leave that in the chat. If you're somehow can't type right now or whatever, you can go to one of the videos I post later and leave it in the comments there. But what type of crystal is used to power the Death Star? 10 points if you get it right. You only get one guess. Only the first person to get it right gets the points, and don't look it up. But with that, let's move on to the first segment. So out of all the movies that Disney has produced so far, I think Rogue One is maybe not the best, but it's definitely a pretty good movie. Which is kind of surprising to a lot of people, because it's like no one asked for this. Is kind of the excuse about a lot of shows that people say they're not gonna like. Like, you watch all these other videos, I guess. I mean, I don't really want to classify everyone else as the other people or whatever, but you see videos where people talk about what they want to see in Star Wars, and they're like, "What? A Cassian Andor show? Who asked for this?" And it's like, that's not the point. The point isn't that you get what you ask for. The point is that you get a good story. And I think Rogue One is a perfect example of this. No one asked to see the story of Rogue One, but yet it's a great story because someone had an idea. Wouldn't it be a great idea if we shared the story of a team that goes in and infiltrates this Imperial base to get the rebel plans? It's based off of such a one single line in the opening text for A New Hope, and yet it becomes this awesome movie that, as far as I can tell, pretty much everyone likes. If you don't like it, leave your explanations as to why. But with that being said, that brief introduction, I'm going to just go through point by point and talk about the things I liked, the things I didn't like, and everything to do with Rogue One. So, to start off, I'm going to say that one of the biggest problems with this movie is the characters don't have that much personality, at least some of them. So Jyn Erso is kind of I don't know, she just doesn't seem to have much of a unique personality. She's kind of she's got a lot of personality. You could say, if you knew her in real life, you would say, oh, she's got a lot of personality. But it's not like a Luke Skywalker where you're you would describe him as hopeful, or it's not like Leia where you would describe her as commanding, or Han Solo where he's just I don't know, he's Han Solo. But all of them have these recognizable traits that make them who they are as characters, and Jyn Erso just doesn't really have that, I guess. And it's kind of the same for Cassian. They have these roles, they have these jobs that they have that they're supposed to do, but outside of that, they don't really have that much character. So Jyn Erso is the daughter of Galen Erso, and she's kind of a super rebel. She doesn't care about anything. And then Cassian Andor is this spy person. That being said, there are Chirrut Imwe has a lot of personality. He's a monk, right? But he's got this sense of humor where it's he points out things that seem I don't know, they don't make sense, and he points it out in such a way that it's funny. And then there's K2SO, who does kind of the same thing, but very differently. And it's kind of funny that the droid has the most personality out of everyone in the movie. Then you have Bodhi, the pilot, and he's the pilot, I guess. Then there's Baze Malbus, who I guess is with the Force in the end or something. Baze Malbus, I don't know. He's not that interesting of a character to me, just because he's kind of the gun that protects Chirrut Imwe, but that's about it. I don't know. You could probably make a good argument as for why Baze Malbus is a great character, but I just don't really feel that way about him. Then there's Saw Gerrera, and he's just kind of crazy, I guess. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like they lack like depth. Like they all have just like their job. Like one guy's insane, one guy's the pilot, one guy's like the main character, but beyond that, they don't have much personality. I don't know how to describe it. I guess I'm inadequate with that, but then again, like putting feelings into words isn't always the easiest. So I don't know, but on the other hand, this movie is actually like one of my favorites. The plot is good, other than a few missteps, like that weird like wormy monster thing that was it? Saw Gerrera. I'm blanking on his name. That Saw Gerrera has like attack Bodhi, the pilot, and to like try and find the truth. It's like, but you didn't find the truth, like, like it's just a weird plot point, I guess. Like, why couldn't he just been believed? I guess. Like, why did they throw Bodhi in jail afterwards? Like, it doesn't really make sense. And then if he's supposed to be insane, then how did he just like get his memories back and all that when Cassian is like, "Are you the pilot?" And like, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the pilot." Well, like, why that word? Why would that word trigger that? I don't know. It's a bit strange, but other than that, the plot is like mostly good. You have the rebellion like taking this giant risk. You have Vader. You have Krennic. I love the political like interactions between Krennic and Tarkin. That was so awesome. And then that scene with Vader is also good. I think that scene I like it more because it introduces, or at least introduced to me. I don't know if it had been seen before then, but it introduces to me Vader's castle, which I think is such an amazing piece of architecture in Star Wars, and it makes sense and it's imposing. I just love it. But other than that, that scene is just kind of Darth Vader doing his thing. Yeah, not much to say about that other than I love the interplay between those two, with Tarkin just taking over the Death Star and Krennic like, "We stand here amidst my achievement," and all that. Like, that was such a well delivered line. Great actor, whoever did Krennic. And then Galen Erso as well with his story. And after reading Catalyst, it becomes even better, especially like Krennic's character, Galen's character, even I forget her name, the Mama Ursa, like Galen's wife and Jin's mother. That character is actually pretty good in the book. So if you haven't read Catalyst, you should definitely go pick that up at like library or bookstore or wherever you get your books or audiobooks, and give that a read. It's a great book and it helps supplement Rogue One, I guess. Like it is a good story on its own, but with Rogue One, it's even better. Another thing that I think is awesome about Rogue One is all the cool planets that they go to. Like, they start out with this like, I guess like farming planet. It's kind of barren. There's just a lot of grass, but I don't know. There's something cool about just the simplicity of like that planet. And I don't remember what it's called, but that planet is cool. And then also it's got the rings, which is unique. I like seeing the rings from in atmosphere, and just I'd like to see more planets with rings in Star Wars. And like, I think it's Kuat Drive Yards. It's like that one that builds ships. That I really want to see in live action because that would be awesome. Then there's, where do they go next? They go to like that prison planet. We don't get to see that very much, but it's cool. Which in the book, it's a lot cooler. I gotta say that. Read Catalyst. It's probably a catalyst for you getting into all the other books, but I'm cheating. And yeah, and you should definitely read all the books too, not just Catalyst. Maybe not all of them. There is a lot of them, but you should definitely read a lot of the books. They're great. But anyways, I lost my train of thought. The planets, all right, all the different planets. Then they go to, I believe they go to Jeddah next, and Jeddah is actually one of my favorite planets in Star Wars. Just seeing all the ruins of the Jedi in this like desert place with this, they have got like this Jedi temple. I'd love to see that. Like, one, I'd like to see Jedi going there and like seeing the ruins or whatever, and two, I'd love to see it like before it was ruins, and all that kind of stuff. Like maybe in the High Republic they go there or something, or maybe in the Old Republic they go there. I don't really know when like that the city fell into ruin, but it'd be cool to see more of those like ancient Jedi temple type sites in Star Wars. So yeah, Jeddah is a cool planet. Next they go to Iadu or something. It's the really rainy one with Galen Erso. That's where he did like his sciencey stuff. It's a good planet, I guess. I mean, it's not super special. I guess it's kind of unique. We've never seen a rocky, rainy planet, but yeah, I'd say it's a good planet. We just don't see much of it other than that it's rocky and rainy, I guess. So yeah, that's a good planet, but I think we need to spend more time there for me to truly start to appreciate it. Then they go to Scarif, I think is... Oh, also Yavin 4, but we've seen Yavin 4 before. And Mustafar, same, we've seen Mustafar before. But Scarif, that's another planet that I really like. I never would have come up with that, with like a beach planet. Like, I could probably come up with like a desert planet, or a snow planet, a forest planet, plains planet, I don't know, like mountainy planet, like Alderaan, I guess. City planet, that's a pretty good one. But then there's the beach planet, and that's just a very cool idea. Like, a whole planet with beaches, it looks beautiful. So it's kind of sad that the Death Star kind of blew up part of it, which is probably going to ruin the rest of the atmosphere and the ecosystems, and Scarif's probably gone. But not as gone as Alderaan, so I guess there's that. So yeah, all the planets in this movie, I really like them. Also, the music is excellent in this movie. Plot is good, I already went over that. Yeah, just a good, solid movie. I love, like, the feeling of it, with all, like, it's like, it's gritty. Like, you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The feel of the movie is really good. It's like a war movie. It's very few force powers. In fact, the only, like, force, like, lightsabers and force users that we see are on the dark side, which really paints it in a much different light. Like, instead of like, oh, we're gonna be saved by the Jedi over and over again because we're in Star Wars, it's like, no, the Sith are about to destroy us. Which I suppose there's only that one scene, but like, it continues the theme of the movie, or not really continues it, extends the theme of the movie. So not just there's like no force powers and this is like a real gritty, we gotta do whatever it takes to like get those plans, but and like we don't have the force as like part of that, because the force, it kind of makes Star Wars more childish. It's not childish, but like it makes it a fantasy. If you don't have magic, you don't have the fantasy, and the fantasy gives it like this. It's not real. It's innocent. It's just a story type feel, and Rogue One kind of destroys that in a way. Not destroys it, but it like doesn't have as much of that in the movie. Not just because there's no force powers, but also because like the characters like Cassian Andor is like doing such, I don't know, like bad things for a good cause, and it's like, well, is it moral to do that? And they don't like say that outright, but it's like that's implied through the story, and it's a question that they ask in the story, and I think that's good. And I don't really know what I think about all that, but it's great to see that in the story, to just see those questions raised naturally and in an entertaining way. But yeah, so an extension of that like whole feeling of grittiness and realism is that they don't have the Force on their side, or sure it does. I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a second, but for the most part, they don't have any Jedi, they don't have any Force stuff. They go to Jeddah, and there's like all these runes, that's about it. You've got partisans and rebellions, but no Jedi. And then at the very end, like, Darth Vader comes down this hallway, and it's like, not only do you not have Jedi, but you have the Sith against you. So that's a lot of talk about that small minor point. But I don't know. It's part of the feeling of the movie, with just the desperateness with the rebels are fighting. Like, if they lose this battle, they lose the entire war, and it's not very high chances of them succeeding. But yet they do it. They barely do it, but they do it. And they die in the process, which adds to that feeling. So, as I said earlier, Shirt Imwe, we gotta talk about this guy. So, Shirt Imwe is not a Jedi, but he seems to be using the Force, but it's like not in the normal way. So, like, why is that? Like, what is he actually doing? And honestly, I don't really know. That's a great question for. I would say ask if I could ask three people. I would ask the writer. I don't know who it is, but whoever wrote Rogue One, whoever the primary writer is, I would ask Dave Filoni, and I would ask who would the other one be? I'm gonna ask the actor. I don't think he would know, but I'd love to hear his response. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. Anyways, Shirt Imwe is like, I don't really know. He seems to be. Here's what I think he is. He's not. Okay, everyone has midichlorians, right? Without it, there would be no life. But some people have a lot of midichlorians, say, Anakin. And I use the word midichlorians there to kind of like prove that it's true. But really the idea is everyone has the Force, but to different levels. So most Jedi can use the Force to like lift objects and like throw things around and make themselves strong and fast and they can sense things. But other people have the Force to where they can like kind of do those things, but not really. So for example, Han Solo. That's a bad example. For example, Admiral Akbar. He's just a normal person, but you could say he has some amount of Force, he just doesn't have enough to where training would be worth it. The reason I say Han Solo was a bad example is because it's definitely possible that he is Force sensitive and just doesn't know it, which I'll probably talk about in another stream, in another segment, some other time. But yeah, there's quite a bit of evidence for that, just based on how lucky he is. But anyways, yeah, I'll get into that later. I don't know if I 100% believe that, but I think I subscribe to that theory. But back to Shirt Imwe, I think he's like that, where he doesn't have the Force like very strongly in him, but he does have some. And I don't think he even has more than average. I just think he has better than average training. So it'd be like someone who's not very talented with, I don't know, something that talent matters a lot in. What's something that talent matters a lot in? Honestly, not quite sure. There's nothing quite like the Force. Let's put this into numbers. So let's say Jedi have like above 1,000 Force talent, but their training multiplies that by like 100. Whereas most people have like below 1,000 and they have like no training, so it's like 1,000 to 100,000. Jedi easily way more Force power. Probably more like 100,000 to like 500. But then you have like Shirt Imwe, who's got that like 500, but he also has like 50 in training. So it's like, what would that be? 25,000. So he's not a Jedi. Like he's like a quarter of their power, but he's not like an average person. And that's kind of what I think about it. As for the specific Force abilities he's using, I would say reflexes and sensing his surroundings. What else could there? And by reflexes, I don't mean like his, like literally enhanced reflexes. It's precognition technically. Probably some Force augmentation as well. So no telekinesis, no like mind control. Just like the basic powers, minus telekinesis. However, there is that one scene where he's like walking out to push the master lever. They call it a master switch. But yeah, he's walking out and these Death Troopers are just missing. And honestly, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's another Force power called like Force plot armor, which would explain a bunch of things in Star Wars. But at the same time, I don't really want that power to be in Star Wars because of plot problems. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's like, oh man, this is such a hard question. And this is why I would want to ask someone like a Dave Filoni or the writer, or not really the actor. I want to ask him because I think it'd be funny, but like asking George Lucas what he thinks about this, because there is not a way that I can think of to explain it. So with all the things I've said in mind, what are your thoughts about that? Leave that in the chat. Leave that in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts about Shirt Imwe and his connection to the Force, and what it all means. Yeah, but other than what have I gone over? The characters, not super interesting. There are some of them though that have a lot of personality. The plot is really good. I love to see the setting, the which is planets and the music. Seeing the Empire, they did a great job with like consistency, I guess. The Empire is the Empire. They've got Tarkin and all these characters that you would expect. Also, there's the K2SO. I don't know what his like droid type is called. I think they're like, never mind. I don't really remember. But K2SO, his type of droid, that's a cool idea. I like that. Kind of weird that we didn't see them in Star Wars later, but you know, it's fine. It's that kind of thing happens all the time in Star Wars. You've got Death Troopers. Also cool, I guess. They're just kind of better stormtroopers. Pretty tall though. Yeah, and if the Death Troopers in the Thrawn book, if you've read that book, that's cool. It's not really a scene, it's like a collection of scenes, so that whole segment of the book is great. Maybe not that whole segment is great, but I love seeing the Death Troopers. It's a cool addition to that segment. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Rogue One. It's a pretty good movie, but what are your thoughts? What do you think about Rogue One? Is it the best movie in the Disney era? Is it the best Star Wars movie overall? Is that space is like the climactic fight scene with like the Hammerhead Corvette and the Star Destroyers? Is that ending? Blank on the word. The ending battle, is that like the best one in Star Wars? Is it top 3? I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts? Is it the worst one? Do you not like Rogue One? Leave your thoughts and leave not just what you think, but also why you think it in the comments. Because I love talking Star Wars, but it's a lot easier to talk Star Wars when I like, instead of just people stating things they think, they state why they think them. Because then you can kind of more get to the bottom of like their motivations, and you can actually change each other's mind and kind of share Star Wars more, I guess. I don't know. I just like knowing like why. That's such a good question. But with that being said, leave your comments. I like Rogue One. What do you think? And with that, let's move on to the next segment, which, as I stated earlier in the intro, I have not planned for. So let's just go through on the fly how to hunt a Rancor. Alright. So you just crash landed on this planet, and it's, I don't know, let's say a jungle planet. I think that's where Rancors are from. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look up where Rancors are from. I'm going to start the recording over for the main video. So anyone watching live, I am about to do research. Dun 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 dun. Google search. And Wikipedia. Dathomir? They're from Dathomir? Is that true? Okay. I'm gonna click on canon to make sure it's canon. Yeah, I guess they are from Dathomir. Semi-sentient. Okay. I'm gonna... Never mind, that's not gonna work. You can kind of see my browser. How do we do this? Close. Okay, sorry for the wait if you're watching live. I'm just thinking of ways to, I guess, convey this information. So, what if I... No, that's about it. I'll just exit that off. Alright, so we got Rancors. So, your ship just crash landed on Dathomir. And you're in this like canyon thing with like rocks and vines. Kind of looks like Jedi Fallen Order if you played that game, that area. And then out of the shadows, I guess, let's say there's a cave, and out of the shadows comes a Rancor. What do you do? And I'm going to be honest, I have not had time to prepare, so I'm going in with just as much like panic as you are. So first things first, you're probably going to die. Rancors are massive animals, and unless you have the right equipment, you're probably not going to be able to, like, you're probably not going to survive. Another criteria with this is you're not trying to just escape the Rancor, so you're not going to fix your ship, you're not going to have some grapple equipment. You're going to have to hunt the Rancor. So that's the ground rules. What equipment would you want on your crash-landed ship? Also, no, you can't have another ship inside the ship that you can fly up and shoot from above. You have to fight it, like, with stuff that you would carry on your person. Okay, so let's start with strengths and weaknesses for the Rancor. So, Rancors have really tough skin. I mean, I don't think there's any canon examples, but they look pretty blaster-proof to me. They're massive, they've got thick skin covered in who knows what. So blasters are probably not going to be very effective unless you've got a really powerful sniper round. But then again, with those, you're probably going to not even if you penetrated the skin, it's gonna not have a very big effect. So the next best after blasters is probably some sort of like cutting weapon. So like a lightsaber. That would probably be pretty effective against a Rancor, except for the fact that you need to get in close. And Rancors, let's start talking about more of their strengths other than their ability. Speaking of strengths, they're literally really strong. Like, they can pick up full Gamorrean guards. They can pick you up. They can crush you. They can eat you. That seems to be their main tactic, is grab and eat. Their mouths are really strong. They crush, like, thick bones, as we see in Return of the Jedi. So they're pretty strong, pretty deadly. Their jaws don't seem to be super sharp, but they do seem to be very strong. Their eyes are very small, so you're not going to be able to attack those very easily. Their legs are pretty sturdy, and their hands like go way in front of their legs, kind of like in a wrestling stance. If you're a wrestler or you watch wrestling a lot, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's difficult to get people's legs when like their hands are hanging down right there. So probably not going to be able to just go around and get their legs. I believe they have tails. I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, Rancors, super tough. So if you do get close, you're gonna have quite a battle ahead of you. Fortunately, they don't seem to be super quick. So you can probably find a way to, if you can find a way to damage them without getting caught by them, then you can probably get to whatever angle or whatever and go in and attack them with your lightsaber. I'm gonna say no lightsabers, just because that's like such a, I guess, exclusive weapon. It's not very common to find those outside of Jedi or Sith or, I guess, the Darksaber, but that's like one of the rare exceptions. You've got Asajj Ventress's lightsaber, you've got, and I don't mean her red ones, I mean her yellow one, and then you've got the Darksaber, which even that's an exclusive weapon. There's like only one of it, so it's basically impossible for your average bounty hunter to have a lightsaber. But yeah, no lightsabers. So after that, I would say your best weapon to use against it is probably a. Okay, so I think you have two options. You've got use like a vibroblade, and then you can probably damage its skin, or you shoot it in the weak spots. So its weak spots would probably be its eyes, but those are very small. So, and you're gonna have to get close to its face. You've got its mouth. Again, you're gonna have to get really close to its face. It doesn't really have much other weak spots, so maybe if you like tried to tie it up with a grapple line, it's probably too strong for that though. Okay, so tool number one, I'm gonna say is, what is it called? Rocket boots, like what Cad Bane has. Those would be extremely helpful in this scenario, due to its lack of speed. You can using those, you can really start to get around it. Things that you're not really gonna want to use at all is like flamethrowers, poison gas, grapple lines, pretty much anything you would find on a Mandalorian Vambrace, or also other stuff is like armor. That's not going to do that much. Maybe if you had Beskar armor, you could probably survive a bite, but it's really not going to do too much to have armor. So probably you want to go lightweight with jetpack, or not jetpack, like rocket boots. As for the blaster, I'd say something like Boba Fett's, what do you call it? I forget the name. But Boba Fett's blaster that he always carries around, it doesn't have too much range, but it's got a lot of power. At least that's how I understand it, and not too fast. So if you get your shot off, you're gonna do a lot of damage, but you need to be close enough. And due to the ground rules, you're not going to be running away and sniping it from far away until you finally get a lucky shot. That's not in the spirit of the challenge. Another, what else would you want? I think, honestly, that might be it. There's not much that you can do to this thing. So I would say having a minimal amount of stuff to carry would probably be in your best interest. Some other things that could help is like grenades, because those will do a lot of damage. And if you've got rocket boots, then you can like drop it down and then fly away, you know? So grenades would probably be pretty helpful as well. Maybe a smoke screen. If you've got like a smoke grenade, that might be super useful against a Rancor. So yeah, this is probably going to be a pretty effective tool set. I'm trying to think if there's any other gadgets I've seen people use or anything that would be especially effective against a Rancor. If you don't have the rocket boots, some other ideas could be like their grapple line might be good if you have like one that's not meant for like grappling like wrestling, or basically how Mandalorians seem to use them most of the time. But if you had one more for like hooking onto things and climbing, that might be good if back to the Dathomirian scenario, you're in like a canyon and you gotta like get out and then jump over. I think honestly your best way to attack it is from above, because as I mentioned earlier, its arms like hang down to like guard its legs. And in addition, all its weak spots are on its head, so you're gonna want to get on top of it. Hence the rocket boots and hence the grapple equipment that I suggested. So there's some stuff that you could use. Jetpacks also very similar to the rocket boots, but I would prefer rocket boots in this situation. You're not really going to need speed, you're going to need maneuverability. A vibroblade might be good, probably going to be your last resort, but it can probably penetrate its skin and cause a lot of damage. Trying to think what else could there be. So leave your ideas in the comments or in the chat. What gadgets do you think would be excellent for hunting a Rancor? Yeah, I mean, they're just super tough, and they don't really have much, they don't really have weaknesses, but at the same time, they're not really fast enough to catch you. So, your best bet is hitting it hard and hitting it fast. So, what weapons would you choose? Personally, if I could choose any, I would go with rocket boots, Boba Fett's rifle, or, I'm gonna go with Boba Fett's rifle. Mando's disruptor rifle would also be good, or Fennec Shan's rifle. Fennec Shan's might be a bit too long. But Boba Fett's rifle, rocket boots, and then if I could have one, a lightsaber, but if not, then just a vibroblade. And then other than that, just like as many grenades as can fit on a belt. Mando seems to be able to fit like 4 of them or whatever, so I'd choose 4 of those. I think that would be all I would carry. I think when fighting a Rancor, you want to be as light and as minimalist as possible. So that's what I would carry. Also clothes, I guess. That's kind of obvious, though. As for what species I would want to be, if I was able to choose that, I would probably want something super light and quick, but at the same time, something kind of predatory, I guess. What would be a good species? So my first thought is Trandoshan, but I think they're a bit too big there. They're kind of fast, but they're not like the fastest. Trying to think of a lot of unique species. Twi'leks are just about as good as humans. Humans are a good choice. They're kind of adaptable, but I feel like I could choose something a little bit better. You've got Devaronians, They're pretty big though. Keep thinking of big ones. Uh, what are they called? I think they're called like the talls. They're like the gray furry ones with four eyes. Those might be a really good choice. They seem to be pretty fast, pretty strong. But at the same time, they don't seem to be that sophisticated with their technology. So it might not be best to give them rocket boots. That might not work. Um, you've got, I guess most species are actually pretty similar. I'm gonna go with Trandoshan, depending on the rocket boots I have. If the rocket boots are like big enough that I can like maneuver around super easily as a Trandoshan, I'm gonna go with the Trandoshan just because I think that extra bit of like predatory instinct, and the durability and strength is always good. Endurance as well, always good to have some of that. Um, but if not, I'm just gonna say human, honestly, because they're pretty adaptable, and I think when fighting a Rancor, you just gotta be ready for it, ready for like anything that could go wrong, I guess. Um, some species I definitely wouldn't want to be is like Deveronian. They're way too big. I wouldn't want to be a hut. Way too big. Would totally lose to a Rancor. Um, oh, you know what might be good? Oh, I thought of the perfect one. Nautilon. Or was it Tiguruchin? Yeah, Nautilon sense emotions and Tiguruchin sense movement, I think. I know that's true in Legends. I don't know if Tiguruchins can sense movement in canon. Like their horns are like hollow or something, and so they can like sense stuff. I'm pretty sure that's true in Legends. And please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, and I'll, I guess, reply with a comment saying, "Oh yes, that's confirmed," and I'll look it up and stuff after the stream. But Tiguruchins, I would say, are one of the best options because they can kind of sense what's going on around them. But yeah, Nautilons, if you didn't know, it's been confirmed in the High Republic book. There's a character who's a Nautilon, and he kind of says, "Hey guys, I can kind of feel your emotions. I know you're kind of worried and whatever." And it's part of the story. You'll read it. It's kind of near the beginning, in Light of the Jedi. So, I haven't really gone over stuff that I wouldn't want to bring. I guess like pistols, like blasters, like Mando's pistol or Jango's pistols. Han's blaster might work. Oh, you know what would be better than Boba Fett's is a bowcaster. That's better. Yep. Bowcaster would be. I don't know. I just like it better. I I'd have to like be an engineer and look at the specifications of that. And by engineer, I don't mean Earthling engineer. I'd have to be an in-universe engineer to kind of know for sure. But I think a bowcaster would probably be better than a whatever Boba has. So other stuff I wouldn't want to have is like flamethrowers, grapple lines, men who wear vamp braces, things, armor. I've already mentioned all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I also don't want like lighter stuff like a Beskar spear might be fine, but again, it's the problem with the melee weapons is other than a lightsaber which can cut through things really quickly, therefore making it so that if the Rancor like swipes at you with its claw, you can cut the hand off. Whereas if you had the Beskar spear, you'd be able to wound it, but you would still be knocked to the ground, and then he would just pick you up with his other hand and in a rage bite your head off. But yeah, if you had a lightsaber, then you could probably do a bit better. So yeah, Beskar spear might be good, but probably not. That goes for all kinds of spears, not just the Beskar spear, but Beskar spear is more in my mind, I guess, because the Mandalorian happened recently. So yeah, that's how to fight a Rancor. The weapons I would choose is rocket boots, bowcaster, a few grenades, and a vibroblade just in case. So leave your ideas as to what you would choose in the comments. And thanks for watching. As for those of you who are watching live, moving on to the next segment, which I kind of feel like I've kind of been like just recording video after video instead of like recording a live stream and recording segments of it, I guess, which is kind of sad for you one viewer, but at the same time, like, you're not really chatting and it's only one viewer, so I don't know, if you want to be part of the conversation, please leave a chat. I'd love to kind of incorporate you, and it would probably help me get in the right mindset of I'm streaming rather than like I'm recording a video, and with YouTube better. Yeah, so I'm gonna move on to this next segment, which is the scariest animals in Star Wars. So what are the top 10 scariest animals in Star Wars? I think it's a question that not many people ask that much. It is about the animals in Star Wars, because in Star Wars it's pretty easy to focus on like the various different species, and that kind of takes away from the, I guess, focus on the animals. So in this stream, I want to talk about the top 10 animals in Star Wars. Not top 10 animals, the top 10 scariest. So I got a list, I got a picture for each one, and I'm just going to go through them one at a time and discuss why I put them in their places. So the first one I have, number 10 on the list, is the Nexu. This is the like cat-like monster that we see on Geonosis. It's the one that attacks Padme. Super vicious looking, giant teeth, like spines on its back, 4 eyes, claws, I guess. Just a vicious looking beast. So that's the Nexu. I put it at number 10, and this is like the number 10. This like vicious cat-like sharp teeth thing. So you can already tell this list is gonna be pretty scary, I guess. I mean, you're probably not gonna get scared while watching the video, right? But like, say you were to encounter these in like person, you would definitely be scared by all these. So the next two, just a vicious beast, I guess. Very dangerous. It just seems very risky to even get close to these things. Not the biggest one, not the most torturous one or the spookiest one, but definitely a dangerous one. So let's move on to number 9, which is... Oh, I'm forgetting the name. Oh, man. Let me look at my search history. It's probably here somewhere. Not the blurg. It's not the blurg. Sorry for the inconvenience. They had a weird name. It's like, here it is. Great. I found a different name for the same creature. Oh, never mind. I found it there. There it is. So it's Gutkurrs. It's called a Gutkur. The R is probably like a ruled R, so sorry for the wait. I had to look up the name. Probably should have written it down somewhere on paper where it's, you know, I don't have to like go away from my streaming software and all that stuff to look it up. But the Gutkur, these things, if you don't remember, which you probably don't remember very well, these are the things you see in the Ryloth arc of the Clone Wars. I don't know, they like got released to like hunt Obi-Wan and the 212th Battalion as they infiltrated the city. So, yeah, I mean, we don't really get to see them fight that much. They never really, at least I don't think they actually battle. But you can kind of tell they're like covered in carapace armor. They've got sharp teeth, very slitted eyes, long legs. I believe they were pretty quick. I'd have to rewatch the video or the episode, but yeah, these things are pretty scary, and I put them above the Nexu, probably just because of their size. They're significantly bigger than the Nexu, which makes them more scary. Another thing that makes them more scary is their armor. They seem a lot tougher than the Nexu. So the Nexu seems more, I don't know, aggressive. These things are probably the scarier beast. I say probably. They're scarier to me. They might not be scarier to you, but I think overall they're more scary because they've got this toughness and they've got just a larger size. But that's pretty much all I have to say about the Gutkur. Moving on to number 7 is the Acklay, and I've always loved the Acklay. I mean, this guy is, I don't know, there's just something about, move that, there you go. there's just something about like the six-legged, green, insectoid-like, I don't know, like with pincers and it's just a very vicious-looking beast. And I've always loved it, but at the same time, it's a big, scary beast. So I didn't put it very high on this list, because like it doesn't seem like it's not slimy, it's not that spooky, but it's definitely dangerous looking. And that's kind of the common theme of these lower tier ones is they're not really like scary, but they're just dangerous looking. And the Acklay is definitely that. Like this six-legged monster coming to kill you. Like it's got giant teeth, even though it doesn't really have that much of a use for them with those. Like it can barely get its face to the ground, it would seem. But yeah, so it's got giant teeth. It's got like spikes everywhere, especially those 6 spikes that I keep talking about. And it just moves very menacingly. So yeah, I've always loved seeing Obi-Wan fight the Acklay. It's one of my favorite parts of Episode 2 is the Acklay. But moving on to number 5, I believe this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No. This should be number 6. I'm very bad at counting, apparently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. How do I have 11 here? 10, 9, 8, 7. I keep getting 7. I'm going to go with number 7. That's not good. I already lost count. Sorry for all the inconveniences. Yeah, but anyways, continuing on with the Rancor. The Rancor is another big scary beast. Definitely looks dangerous. The reason that's not higher is because it's kind of slow. Like, honestly, it just doesn't move that fast, so it doesn't seem to be as dangerous as, like, a quicker moving one. But at the same time, it's really big, really dangerous, really strong, really tough. And it's like covered in like slime and drool, and that just makes it more scary to me. A lot of the things that scare me are kind of like covered in slime and stuff. So yeah, that's the Rancor, like classic beast in Star Wars. But yeah, not too scary to me just because it moves kind of slow. But at the same time, it is still like a really scary beast. So moving on to number 6 is the Sarlacc pit, and again another classic Return of the Jedi beast. This one is very different from all the other ones in the list because it doesn't move. The Sarlacc pit is stationary. The only dangers of it is if you get like knocked in or you fall in accidentally, and I don't know, it's just something scary about it not moving, I guess. And it's got lots of tentacles, and it's got lots of spikes, and it's got this giant mouth. But I think the scariest part about it is that if you fall into it, you'll be digested for, I don't know, it depends on how old you are, because your matter will be digested over, what is it, like 1,000 years or something? Regardless of the number, it's basically your entire lifetime. So, well, I suppose before you die of hunger, which is like, or thirst, I guess. So, a week, which is scary. Like, it's kind of funny to point out, well, you die of thirst before, like, 7 days out of the first 1,000 years or whatever. But at the same time, that's still 7 days of being digested. Like, that is just terrifying. And, like, imagine, like, at night, and this thing's just, like, you slip or something and you fall into one of these, and I'm sure that's not very likely, they're not very common, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, it's not very likely you get bitten by a shark, and people are still scared of those, so regardless of the likelihood, just the idea of that happening to you is scary enough to make this number 5 on the list. Number 6 on the list is uncommon, or not very well known one, called a lilac. My first encounter with these, the first time I heard about them was in the Lords of the Sith book, where Vader and Sidious fight them, and they're said to be the like top predators on Ryloth. So that means that they're the predators above the gut cutters. Yeah, so super vicious. I believe they eat each other if there's not enough prey around for them to eat, so they're definitely very predatory, definitely vicious, and kind of similar to the Acolyte. They've got like 6 legs, and they've also got 2 tentacles and what appear to be like pincers on the top of their head or something. I've never seen them in like animation or live action or anything. I don't think they're in anything like that, but even just seeing pictures of them and reading about them in books, you can tell they're very scary beasts. Scary beasts. And this is kind of like the top tier of the, I guess, not scary but dangerous looking beasts in Star Wars. Like the next two is just kind of vicious, and the gut curves are just kind of, they look like you wouldn't be able to beat them. So that's kind of where this kind of thought ends, I guess. There is actually one more, but that one's also scary for other reasons. So, yeah, the lilac is like top predator of Ryloth, which is saying something because Ryloth has a lot of predators. So yeah, lilac's very dangerous, very deadly. Moving on to number 4, and this is the one I was talking about, where it is one of those like dangerous ones, and that's the main motivation. But at the same time, this one, and if you can't tell from the picture, it's a bantha. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Great Dragon, not the bantha there. That's just happens to be in the picture. The Great Dragon, as we see in The Mandalorian, digs underground, shoots acid, and is just absolutely ginormous. Which I think that this one is probably like a not very normal Great Dragon, because the skeleton we see of the one in the New Hope is a lot smaller than this. And sure, that one could be small, but this one could also be big, and that's probably a better explanation than that. That one's small, this one's big. So yeah, these things are absolutely massive. Even if this one is big for its species, it's still absolutely massive. Just dwarfs everything. And this picture doesn't really do it justice, because that bantha is a lot closer to the camera than that Great Dragon is. The Great Dragon is like I don't know. It's a snake, right? So you wouldn't expect it to be very tall, but at the same time, it's like 10 times taller than a person. So it's like 60 feet tall. And then it's even longer, and it digs underground, and it shoots this like nasty acid that like burns, like not literally burns, but like it dissolves people pretty much on touch. Like they just turn into white smoke, basically. So yeah, watching this fight, fighting the Mandalorians and Tusken Raiders and Tatooine, like I guess cowboys, because that's what they are. Very scary scene. I mean, I'm not personally scared, but if I'm thinking about fighting this thing, that's a pretty scary thought. So yeah, Great Dragon is very scary, very dangerous, and it also is just super ugly, and like it's got no eyes, it's got like sand caked all over it, comes out of the ground just devouring everything. Yeah, definitely deserving of a top 4 spot. But I mean, this is top 4. Like, top 3 is, and all the way up to the top 1, like, so spooky. But with that being said, let's move on to the top 3. This is the Dianoga. And this is, you might not recognize it, this is the trash monster from Episode 4 that they meet in the trash compactor on the Death Star. And it, like, grabs Luke and, like, takes him under and is, like, choking him. And then it only goes away when the trash compactor starts closing. But like this thing is just so nasty, because it's like always like in the sewers, it's always in trash, it's just absolutely disgusting, and it's also pretty dangerous. It like chokes you and pulls you underwater, which is just an absolutely terrifying thought of being like having this like snake thing wrapped around your neck, and you get tugged underneath like nasty trash water. Like that is terrifying. And honestly, I almost put this one at number 1, but 2 and 3 are, like, I would say equally as scary as the Dianoga. Just an absolutely terrifying monster. Yeah, moving on to number 2. So second best one. This isn't the Clone Troopers. This isn't Bear's Ophi. This is the Brainworm. I think its only name is the Geonosian Brainworm. They don't really have, like, like they don't have like a Dianoga or a Gutker or a lilac word for it. They just call it the Geonosian brainworm. And these things, they basically crawl into your nose and then control you, and they can like control dead bodies too. So like those Geonosian zombies, kind of like they're not literally coming back to life. They've got a parasite in their brain. But yeah, like these things crawl into your nose, they take over your brain, and like there's no visible sign. The only way to defeat them is through cold. Obviously, they come from Geonosis, a pretty warm planet, so they're weak to cold. If you cool like the victims down enough, then like the Geonosian brainworms have to come out and they kind of die. So yeah, they have like one weakness, but like they can take over your brain. They can take over your Jedi's brain, and then that Jedi, like the Jedi retains all their powers, with just the added intent of spreading these worms everywhere, which is like their only intent. Like they're just trying to spread, and that's just like a scary thought because they're not like. At least Palpatine had a plan for ruling the galaxy. These things just want to spread like their existence throughout the galaxy, and that is just absolutely terrifying. Like I hate the idea of being controlled by a brainworm that crawled into my nose. Like ugh, that is absolutely terrifying. But number one, and maybe this shouldn't have been number one. But I mean, it's hard to choose these. These are scary. These are the Rathtars. You first see them in, or at least I first saw them in The Force Awakens. And those are the things that Han Solo was hauling around when we first meet him. And they're terrifying. And like, they're big. They've got lots of teeth. They've got tentacles. But they're actually really fast and really smart. And really strong, of course, because they're really big. But their speed and intelligence is what impresses me the most. I believe they are like expert pack hunters, so they work well together. They like trap and stuff. Darth Maul fought them in a comic, which I haven't read the comic, but I do know he fights them in the comic. There's a picture right here to prove it. Yeah, I can't wait to read that comic eventually. But yeah, Rathtars are just terrifying to me. Like balls of biting with tentacles coming out of them. They've got all the check marks. They've got tentacles, they've got danger, they've got no eyes. And if you look through my list, like those things put like creatures more towards the top. As you can see in the picture, they've got like nasty, slimy skin. They've got like nasty stuff coming out of their mouth, like drool everywhere. Absolutely nasty. And so that's my list of the top 10 scariest beasts in Star Wars. And then we'll go through it again. You've got the Nexu, the Gutker, the Acklay, the Rancor. You've got the Sarlacc, the Lilac, the Crate Dragon. You've got Dianogas. You've got Geonosian brainworms, and at the very top, you've got Rathtars. So, what are your top 10 scariest animals in Star Wars? Do you think the Wampa is the scariest? Do you think, Blurgs are just absolutely terrifying? Leave your thoughts in the comments or in the chat if you're watching live. But with that, that's all I've got to say about the top 10 scariest animals in Star Wars. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about pretty much everything in this stream. Wrong button. This one. There we go. Aha. I did it. So, that's the end of the stream. Unless any one of you, one concurrent viewers has something that you're absolutely dying to say, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to discuss more Star Wars with you, because that's kind of why I started these streams, is just to talk Star Wars. So with that being said, I'm kind of stalling, because as you know, I do this every time. There is a bit of lag between when I speak and when your comments come in, or potential comments, because frankly, you're probably not going to comment. Most people don't. So I'm just kind of delaying the inevitable of hitting end of stream and ending the stream. I'll probably wait till my clock says 8 o'clock, or actually it'll technically say 20 o'clock, because I have military time, because I think it's cooler. But yeah, so I'm kind of stalling, as I usually do. What are your thoughts? Do you have any critiques? Do you think I should have planned more for that Rancor video? Definitely. Nod your head yes. Yep. Hit the thumbs up as well. Do you think I should have remembered the name in the gut cur? Also, nod your head yes. I definitely should have remembered that name. It's a pretty important name. Like, what are your thoughts about all this? Do you hate that I have the word Star Wars in the title? Is that what do you call it? Is that clickbait? Oh no, I don't know. Leave your critiques and your compliments as well, if you have any of those, I guess. And also questions, guys. Leave all those in the comments of the videos, because you're not going to have time to do the stream because I'm clicking end right now. So, yeah.